Hi, thank you for watching this video. In this video, I will introduce the Business Process Modeling Notation (BPMN), and this video is just 30 minutes. I cannot walk through all the details about the BPMN, but I will give some basic idea about what kind of elements you have and some basic elements that will give some introductions. And also I will compare the flowchart, the basic flowchart and the BPMN. Let's take a quick look about the agenda. And the first things I will talk about is what is BPMN, and then I will cover some basic constructs of the BPMN, for example, different categories of the notations and few examples about the notations. And then finally, I will talk about why BPMN. Maybe you're already using some flowchart or other diagrams to representing your business process. I will compare the flowchart and BPMN to let you know what is the advantage to have the BPMN. Okay, what is BPMN? Actually, BPMN is combination of BPM and N. Okay, then you may have a questions. What is BPM? BPM stands for Business Process Modeling. Business Process Modeling is used for the people to understand the process. And what kind of process we're talking about? Actually, every organizations, every company, and today's have the process. And the process become more and more important in most of the organizations. The reason behind is we now work more collaboratively than ever. And usually you cannot complete your works by yourself alone. You need to work with other people, even other people from different companies to complete one works. So the business process modeling becomes very important. So the main goal of BPMN is to understand the process and also to document the process. And the document process is not the primary goal. Actually, to document the process is used to communicate. For example, you want to teach the new arrival staff about how our company running, what he should do or she should do in his positions, then you can have the BPM to follow. And also the BPMN can help to analyze the processes. And the N is for notations, actually the language. So the BPMN is the language for the business process modeling. And we have a different form of business process modeling we can do. For example, we can draw a flow chart. For example, we can write it down in a text form, and you can put it in bullet points step by step to describe the process. I see some of the company using this approach, but there's no unified or universal language that is common to all the company and all the organization or even all over the world. So the BPMN, the goal is to provide the language, the unified language for all the company, all the business analysts, all the business owner, all the management to understand the process, to document the process, and to analyze the processes. Okay, then business process modeling notations is the language for visualize the process. When we talk about visualize, it means to have some graphical form to represent it. It is in a graph form that is more easy to understand by the text form. And to document the process and to communicate. The communicate can have two ideas about communicate. It can be we have two persons, they want to share the idea about the business processes. Maybe they have a meetings or they have a telephone call and they communicate. And the other kind of communications is between time. For example, you document the process to date, and 3 months later or years later, you want to know the process. So you can check out the business process diagram you have to get idea about how it works for this year. And also business process notations also can do the analysis and to improve the process and to simulate. And be careful when I'm talking about improve simulate, it is not part of the BPMN. The BPMN is a very neutral language. It just provides the language for everybody, or sometimes even the computer can understand. It doesn't provide any method to do the things. It provides the language. But we can when we have a good language, we can do the improvement, we can do the simulate, we can do analysis on it. So it is independent from the language. And also BPMN could be executed. If you have the workflow engine that can understand the BPMN, then you can execute your business process straight away without even single line of programming. Okay, let's talk about the basic construct of the BPMN. And there are three types of constructs. The first thing is a swim lane, and the swim lane is something look like this, a rectangular box. And the second thing is the flow objects. We have different types of flow objects like the task, gateway, event, or something like that. I will walk through this in details very soon. And also we have a connecting objects. Connecting object is something as a connection line to connect the flow objects. So the connecting objects is showing the flow. Actually, it's showing the flow in the business process. And there's no which one is more important and less important. All the business process will combine of all these three types of basic construct. Okay, let's start talking about the swim lane. There are two types of swim lane. The first one is pool, the second one is length. Let's start from pools. Pools is a rectangle shapes, and the pool have the name in the top or in the left hand side of the rectangle, and it's showing the participant of the workflow. And the participant, usually when we're talking about pool, that means they are standalone or external entity to each other. This is a very typical example of the pool. We have 5 safety departments. This is the subjects we want to model in our seminar. And there's a vendor. The 5 safety department need to deal with the vendor to purchase some goods or purchase some services. And also the client. The client is the service that the 5 safety department will be delivered to. So they are 3 different entities, but they will participate in our workflow. Maybe we order goods process, then we will interact with the vendor, or we do some inspection work for the clients, then we will interact with the clients. So the pool showing 3 independent participants. And usually we use the pool to represent the organization. For example, the vendor is an organization, and it's not 100% organization means a pool, but it is quite typical to organize in this way. And they are external participant, not internal. And it can be vertical pool like this one. We have a vertical pool, 5 safety department, or it can be horizontal one. And thematically, they both are talking about the same things, just the representations. So when we draw the diagram in this idea, these orientations, or in these orientations, they are 100% the same, just a matter of style. But we suggest to use the horizontal orientations. The reason is in system analysis and design, we have a language called UML, the Unified Modeling Language. And under UML, we have an activity diagram. It is something very similar to the business process, but with more sophisticated notation and of course more complicated. And to avoid the confusions, and because the activity diagram usually drawing in vertical way, so we suggest you to draw in horizontal way to provide more clear understandings of the business process. And when we're drawing in the horizontal one, and usually it is not a must, but it is more easy to communicate with. We have the same tone. The from left to right means the time. So if you're reading this diagram, that means this is the first items we need to identify, and then the second one and third, and then the end. So it's showing the time flow from left hand side to right hand side in the pool. Okay, let's talk about the length. The length also a rectangle, but it is a subpartition of the pool. Like we have the 5 safety department, we have the inspector and supervisors, and it can be a department. For example, under the 5 safety department, we have administrations department, and we have an inspection team. they are two departments under the same organizations, or they can be a role. For example, the supervisor, the inspector. It depends on what you're going to model. If you want to model a more high-level interactions, then we put departments. But if you're modeling how different persons are not exactly the persons, but the role of the persons, how they collaborate to complete the works, then we will model in a role. And the links is allowed self-contained. That means, for example, we have the 5 safety department here, and then we have inspection team, and under inspection team we have inspector and also supervisor, and this representing the 5 safety department have this structure. But be careful, the business process diagram is not supposed to be used to represent an organization chart. So if you want to show the organization structure, don't use the business process to do that. You can use the organization chart. And our products also have the organization chart diagrams. And this is the team, and this is the member. You can show in this hierarchy for you easier to represent the diagrams. Okay, let's see how to draw the pool and links in the business process visual architect. Okay, now we have started the business process visual architect. And just in case not everybody have the experience with the business process visual architect, I just do a very quick introductions. After you start the business process visual architect, you will see there is a list of buttons here. The button allows you to do the very common things like open project, save project, etc., print it, copy and paste. And also you can create the diagrams in the toolbar. You can create business process diagrams, some data modeling diagrams, and also some other diagrams. And also you have some utility for you to do your works and more advanced features. And also you can have the team collaborations to share the projects with your team member easily. And in left hand side you got 2 pane. One is the tree, the diagram navigator, for you to browse the content of the diagrams. And on the bottom you have different pane like documentation, stencil, diagram preview, and property pane. Very often we will use the documentation pane. And in the center side you see the biggest one is the diagram for you to draw the diagram. Okay, let's start draw the diagrams. And by default, when you start the business process visual architect, it will new the diagram to you by default. So the first things we need to draw the pool and link. So in the toolbar, you see there is a horizontal pool, and you can create a vertical pool. But again, we suggest to use the horizontal one. So I create a horizontal pool. I just click on the diagrams and then give the name, say this is a fire safety department and something like that. And now you see there's a typing mistake. We have the spell check. You can just change it. Then we have a 5 safety department pool created. The next step is to create a link. You can click on the link and click on the pool to create a link. Say this is an inspector. Or you can also right click on the pool to create a link. You can add links. Say something like that. This is a supervisor. Also typing mistakes, just fix it. And you can create a link, and you can also create a link above. You can right click on the link and then you can insert before or insert after. For example, I insert before, that is an inspection assistance, something like that. And sorry, we'll always have to typing mistakes. And you can have this one. And also you can draw another pool. For example, I have the client here, then I can draw the client. And you can also make it a little bit sorted, easy to show on diagrams. And sometimes when we draw the business process, we want to focus on our organization. We don't want to talk too much about the external entity. Then we can stay this pool as a black box. Then you can right click on the pool and say it is a black box. Then if you put it as a black box, you see the presentation is changed. it will move the name to the center rather than on the left hand side. The idea is you don't focus, you don't want to insert anything inside this pool. And one more thing, on the left hand side you see there is a header, the inspector assistant inspector. This header is for you to, when your diagram become very big, for example, I can just draw a shapes. When your diagram become very big, very far away, then you still can identify which link you are talking about. This is the inspector. Now you move this one is to the inspection assistants, now to the supervisors. So you don't need to scroll back and forth to just let you identify which link you are talking about, something like that. So it is very handy to draw the business process on it. Let me just delete the shape first. Okay, after talk about the pool and links, let's switch to flow objects. And there are also three kinds of flow objects. They are activities, events, and gateway. Okay, let's talk about the activities. And activity is represented in a round rectangle like this one. And it is presenting the work need to perform in organizations. And there are two types of activity. If you have the atomic works, we will use this as a task like this one. And when we're talking about tasks, that means you will not further break down the details of the task. It's suppose the person who working on this task he will just either finish or not finish. You will not have a breakdown to ask other people to do. If you do it, if you need to do so, that we can consider the second options and non-atomic tasks. And for non-atomic tasks, we will use the sub-process to represent it, like this one, a round rectangle with the shape here, and you can expand to see the details of the sub-process. You can break down into the next level. That means this sub-process is not performed by single persons. It could be not performed by single persons, and it can be separated into multiple tasks. So we put it as a sub-process, and usually the sub-process will have another business process diagrams to represent the details. Okay, let's see how to draw the activities, how to draw the tasks and sub-process in Business Process Visual Architect. Okay, now we come back to the Business Process Visual Architect. And to draw the task is very simple, just like we draw the pool. You can click on the task in the toolbar, and you can see there are different types of tasks. The generic is task. You can have a send task, receive task, and etc. We will, if you need to know more details, you can check the BPMN spec. And for example, I can click on the task and go to the diagram to draw it. I draw the task here. Then I will say this is a schedule inspections. And then you can repeat this task, this step to create a task. But after you create a task, you will find that there is a list of icons surrounded on it. This icon is used to draw the following task. Then, for example, after schedule inspections, we will have another task. Then you can just drag and drop. Then you will create another task. This is a confirm schedule with client, something like that. So you can keep drawing the task, and then it will perform inspections. And in this diagram is talking about the inspector will do the schedule inspections, and after he complete the schedule inspections, he will pass to the inspection assistants to schedule the client with to confirm the schedule with clients. And then after that, you will pass to the perform inspections. The inspector will perform the inspections. And now everything is an atomic task, and you can draw the sub-process. And sometimes when you first draw the diagram, you don't know which one is a process, which one is a sub-process, which one is a task. So we better to put everything as a task, but you can change it later on. For example, I can right click on the task. I can change this one to the sub-process. rather than delete and redraw it. Then you can right click it and then go to the last menu item, convert to subprocess. Then I click this one. Then now you can see the task is changed to subprocess. And you can drill down into the detail by clicking the plus sign. Then you see we will bring you to another business process diagram, and the name is perform inspections. Then we can draw how to break it down. For example, in perform inspections, we have the inspector. Then you can right click on the diagrams and then add the pool or links from the parent diagrams. Then we can select we need the inspector and also the inspector assistants. Click OK. Then you will see it will draw the 5 safety departments in the pool, and the link are showing here. And you can see there is a little bit difference. You have a dot ear corner here, and this representing this pool and this link is not originate from this diagram. It is from the parent. And then we can now start drawing the diagram. For example, the inspector will check all equipments, and then he will ask the inspector assistants to take photos for defects, something like that. You can have more to draw it. And for example, assume now we finish our subprocess design. You can go back to the parent by just clicking the hyperlink in the title bar. Then I come back, and now you see we have the subprocess showing here, and it is showing the preview, and you can close the preview by clicking the minus sign, and or you can even have the show the preview, but you can scale it down to fit into your diagram rather than put the very details into the diagram. Then we can fit it in like this. So, but usually we recommend the user to hide it, because when we put in the subprocess, when it is worth to put a subprocess, usually there is a big story behind. So it's better to hide it, because the background, the detailed one could be growth to be very, very large in the future. So, and in the future, when you want to see the detail of the process, you just need to right click, and then there is an open process diagram. You click it, then it will jump into the detailed one. And again, you can click on the hyperlink to come back to the parent. So it is very easy to navigate from the business process to the subprocess to the detailed business process diagrams. Okay, after tasks, we go to the events. And the event is represented by a circle, and sometimes there is an icon inside the circle, like this one. We have the message inside, and the event is representing something is happened. It could be something from external, or something that internal happened, or we trigger something happened. And the most common event, and maybe say every business process should have this event, is a start event. It means to start the workflow. It is a start event. In this case, the start event is we receive a message, and then we trigger the process, trigger the workflow to start the process inspection request. And it could be we receive an email from external, and then we process the inspection request. And it can also be used to continue the workflow. And this is an example. We receive the message, and then we start our process. We start the workflow process inspection request. And this process inspection request could be takes 5 minutes, or takes 1 day, or even take 3 days. But we can insert an intermediate event, say after 2 working days, that will do another things. In this representing, when we process the request, we may pipeline a lot of requests here, but in case there is a request haven't processed for 2 days, then it will go to do another things. And more commonly, it is something like that. When the fire safety department, there is a message arrived, the inspector will process the inspection request. But after 2 days, and maybe there's too many workload, or the inspector on the leave or something, for whatever reasons, we can have the 2 days checking, then we will go to the supervisor to review the emergency, how you review the urgency, how urgent we have, and the flow, the event can affect the flow. And if we draw the task or sub-process, the task and sub-process itself does not affect the flow. It just complete the work and then go to the next flow. But the event could affect the flow. In this case, if we have one incident arrive, and then the inspector process the inspections request, and then assume he complete in single day, then it will go to schedule inspection, etc., to do the rest of the process. But in case it doesn't complete for 2 days, then it will go to review emergency, the urgency, and then maybe there's a very urgent, then the supervisor will handle by himself or to assign to the inspector to do another part of work. So the event could affect the flow of the business process. Okay, let's see how to draw the event in the business process visual architect. Okay, we come back to our business process diagrams, and we have the schedule inspections, etc. works. So we are missing the start event. So you can you can draw the start event to the toolbar, click on the start event and put it on the diagrams. And then you can connect the start event to the task by using the resource centric icon. Then you connect the start event to the schedule inspections. Then that means in this diagram now is showing the start event and then go to schedule inspections. And it is very helpful to have the start event, or we suggest all the business process diagrams should have a start event. The start event allows the reader easily know where is the starting point of the event. And you can change the types of event by right click on the start event and go to the trigger menu to select different types of the event. For example, message event, timer event are very common. For example, we have something arrive, then we start the process, or we do some process for say every week or every month. So you can put the timer event, then I change to message event, then you see there is a message icon showing inside. And regarding the intermediate event, you can draw the intermediate event using the resource icon. There is an icon here called new intermediate event. Then you can click on it, then you will start the intermediate event, and it will run through the boundary of the task. And similar to the start event, you can change the types of the intermediate event by right click and go to the trigger. I change this to timer event, and then I can say to here to review urgency, something like that. And then I can put the conditions in the event, say this is after 2 days, something like that. Then I can adjust the label to put it more easy to view. Now we have the process, like we start the message, we have a message arrive, and then go to schedule inspections, and then confirm with client. And in case the inspector cannot schedule inspection within 2 days, then it will trigger another path to assign to the supervisor to review the urgency of the case. Okay, next now move on to the gateways. And the gateways in business process model notations is represented as a diamond shape like this one. And you put the checking on the bottom, or you can move it around. And the gateway is used to control the flow. And this is an example. After perform inspections, we have the inspection result is passed, then we will issue the certificate. If it is failed, we will issue a warning letter. So it is very straightforward. It's just a decisions. And in these decisions, inspection results pass or fail, we call this is a data-based gateway. What means database? That means we make the decision by the data. The data is the result. And in BPMN, we have an event-based gateway. Event means we wait and until the event happens, then we'll continue the workflow. And here is also the very common usage is exclusive gateway. Exclusive means it's only one of the path will be executed. For example, it either pass or fail. It will not both pass and fail at the same time. But there is an inclusive gateway to deal with a little bit more complicated situations. And for example, we perform the inspections and the inspections result could be no fire exit sign, then we will do something, and has equipment defects, then we will do something, or all pass. In this case, we have more situations. The client could be no fire exit sign, but at the same time, he can also have the equipment defects. So in this case, the inclusive gateway can allow you to trigger both the no exit and has equipment. Maybe no exit, you will do a trigger to ask them to reinstall the exit, or the defects to recheck the defects later on for months. Or the other case is all pass. So in inclusive gateway, it allows you to run one of the path, or more than one, or even every path, something like that. And the event-based gateway is different from the database. That we have a different shapes. You see this is an inside have more things. And the event-based gateway is made the decision by the event. Now in this case, we schedule inspection by email. Then the response could be we receive the message from user, schedule reply, and perform inspections. Or in other event happen is 2 weeks later. We didn't get any reply from users after 2 weeks. Then we will send a follow-up to users. This is an event-based gateway. We made the decision by something happened, not by the data. It is quite a new concept to the people start drawing the business process diagram, have the more event incorporate. But if you think about your business, think about your organizations, think about what you do in daily basis, you may find that you have a lot of event. Most of your work are responding to the event. So introduce the event into the process language is a very natural move. And also the gateway can be used to represent a parallel task like this one. We perform inspections and then we fork. We will prepare the report at the same time. We may send a warning letter. It doesn't mean we need to wait which task to complete. And after both done, we join and then continue the workflow. This is a very straightforward parallel task. And okay, let's see how to draw the gateway in BPVA. Okay, we come back to our business process. And for example, after performing inspections, we will have the decisions. Then we can use the decision gateway to drag and drop to here. And then the inspection result, we can input the checkings. And then if the result is passed, then we will issue the certificate. Then we can draw to here to issue certificate, something like that. And you can input the condition. It is passed, and you can adjust the label a bit to here. And in case it is failed, then we will issue a warning letter. For example, you issue warning letter, something like that. And then if the result is failed, something like that. So we can have this one to draw the true or false. And in case you want to change the gateway type, you also can right click and go to the type. You can change the event-based gateway like this, or you can change to the inclusive gateway. Then you will see there is a circle inside. And also you can have the fault and join. Then you can have a parallel gateway to change it. So it is very easy to draw the different types of gateway in the business process visual architect. Okay, after talking about the flow objects, let's move on to the connecting objects. There are two types of connecting objects. They are sequence flow and message flow. Let's start by sequence flow first. And the sequence flow is a solid line like this one with the arrowhead, and it is showing what's next. For example, we process inspection requests, And after that, we will move to the schedule inspection task. And the sequence flow is showing the things within the pool, like this one. We process inspection requests and schedule inspections inside the fire safety department. And it can also be between the links. For example, the clerk is used to process inspections requests, but the inspectors is used to schedule the inspections. And the link also can have the conditions. For example, in this case, we schedule the inspections and then we have the inspection result. And the sequence flow can put the condition. If pass, we run on this one. If fail, we will issue the warning letters on it. And the message flow is very similar to the sequence flow, but it represented in a long dotted line like this one, also with the arrowhead to pointing to the directions. And the message flow is also used to connecting the tasks, but it is used to connect between the pool. For example, like this one, the inspector will schedule the inspections under the fire safety department, and then the clients will confirm the inspections. And before we go to the demo, let me say a little bit more. When the message flow is, as its name is talking about the message. So in this case, it means the inspector sending the message to the client. And the message itself doesn't mean it should be a computer message. It could be a telephone call, it could be a fax, or it could be a letter. But the idea is this is a message passed through back and forth to communicate, to notify the other to continue the work. Okay, let's see how to draw the sequence flow and the message flow in the tools. Okay, now we come back to the tools. And now you see all the line we draw using the resource centric is a kind of solid line. This is a sequence flow. And you can draw the message flow, and we don't have exactly what is the message flow in the resource icon, because the tool will help you to automatically use the sequence flow or message flow. For example, I draw the task from issue certificate to the clients like this. Then you will see it will automatically be the message flow. And also, it is not just to have the automatically when you draw it to also keep your diagram syntactically correct. For example, I move this task back to my pool like this. Then you will see there is an invalid connection detected dialog box showing up. It means there is a problem in your business process, and we suggest you correct the invalid connections to change to sequence flow, or you can ignore the change, and because you just want to keep it wrong, we allow you to do this one, but we suggest you change. Then you click change, and now you see this one will change to the sequence flow, and it also works in other way around. When you drag back to the clients, it will ask you to change to sequence flow, something like that. But one thing we need to remember, we treat the client as a black box. So putting the task inside a black box pool is not that appropriate, because as we said, we don't care about what's inside. So let's delete this one. And then you can do is you can use the resource icon to the pool. Then I just draw to the pool. Then it's also valid. It means we issue the certificate and issue to the client, but we just don't interest or we don't model what client we are talking, what task inside the client we are talking about, and we just leave it as a black box. Then we will send the flow to here to the client like this one. Okay, now we move on to the last sections of this video. Why BPMN? And you may say that we have a flowchart to date, and why we need the BPMN is the flowchart is fit to our usage. So I would like to have an example. This is a typical flowchart, and here you have the decisions And then after the decision, we'll have the proposal and then test for consent and modify the proposal and etc. to do the decisions, etc. And by looking at this flow chart, can you answer following questions? Who triggered the process? It seems there's a mentions. And who will do the proposal? Who do the task? Seems not very well informations. And who made the decision? Test for consent. Who tests? The product manager, the staff, the engineer, or who? And what if forgot to submit modify the proposal? In here, if test for consent is failed, we go to no, and then we will concern raise and modify and send back to test for consent. In case there's something wrong, forgot to submit the proposal, who will take care about this one? Seems not mentioned. And by the end, what is the end of the process? Seems it doesn't have a clear answers again. And by contrast, we can draw the business process diagram following the flow chart here. We have the decisions, decision proposals, etc. You can see all the text can be put into the business process diagram, but have a little bit more information. Okay, let's review the diagrams, review the questions again. Who trigger the process? You can easily identify the start event under the officer link. So the officer is start the event. And who is doing what? We have the pull and link. For example, the decision, proposal, all these things is doing by the officer. And the project manager is used just to the consent archive and do the decisions. And who make the decisions is very clear. The project manager make the decisions. And how to handle the delay? We have the trigger here, and you can have the trigger here to say 1 month later we will go back to discussions automatically. If you have, you can imagine, if you have the information system implemented, the information systems will handle this task. In case there is a proposal haven't modified it and submitted a month, it will go back to status to discuss. And where is the end of the process? And it's very clear again, we can find the end event. And here you see our business process diagram is drawing vertically. As I suggest, you drawing horizontally. And this is because if I do the PowerPoint with the horizontal one, that cannot accommodate in a slide. So I draw in vertical one, draw in vertical orientations. And again, because the flow chart itself is vertical, so I put vertical again. But we suggest you to use the horizontal orientations to do that. And let's talk about what the products we are using today. Today I'm using the business process and visual architect analyst editions. It supports the business process diagram and also allows you to compare the process. And the BPMN Analyst Edition also comes with the team collaboration features. You can share your project within your team with our teamwork server. And the cost of the BPMN Analyst Editions is US $199, or you can purchase with maintenance that is $238.5. And this will cover 1 year maintenance. And our maintenance is quite different from other software company. Our maintenance include both the technical support and also the version upgrade. And of course the bug fix you can get within the version and version upgrade. What means the version upgrade? It means, and for example, today's we have a 4.2 business process visual architect, and we released 4.3 say in August. And if you have the maintenance covered within this, until August, then you are entitled to get the 4.3 without any extra upgrade cost. So the maintenance itself just costs you 20% of the product price, but it includes all the version upgrade in the coming 12 months. So it is a very good deal. We suggest our customer to purchase the maintenance. And the purchase option, you can buy it online with credit card, and you can put into your company name in the billing informations. We will generate the invoice with your company, and also you can buy with check or wire transfer to wire to our company, and you have all the informations online on our website. And you can visit our online store in following link and in shop/bpva.jsp. And thank you for your time watching this video, and have a nice day.